I grew up in bars. So I was literally raised by the bar, not just my father, but my father's the patrons and the guests that my father had at his bar. I was not a popular kid. I was an overweight kid with not a lot of friends, and felt as like an outcast at school. And my father's bar was the first place that I found like unconditional love and acceptance outside of my family. I mean, people that weren't my mom, my dad, or my brother, that loved me just because I was there. And I grew up, and I learned. I looked at bartenders when I was a kid. Being an unpopular kid with not a lot of friends, looking at the bartenders telling stories and take care of people, and everybody loved them. It's not like I looked at bartenders and, you know, really early on was like, I have to be a bartender. I gravitated towards bartending because they were the entertainers. They were the people sat down and they immediately loved them. And I was like, that is the way for me to be loved when I wasn't, when I didn't feel that outside of the bar world. And, I was also very shy at one point in my life. So, and not a lot of confidence. And bartending gave me confidence. Once I stepped behind the bar for the first time, I felt, I felt it, and I found my confidence, and I found my way that translated into the rest of my life. It's one thing I learned. My father was my biggest influence in bartending, and my father like brought everybody into his space and made everybody feel like they were the only person in the room. This is how you make people feel welcome. But I learned from him that we have it in our hands. If somebody feels ignored all day, they feel insignificant at work, they feel like, they feel under pressure, and they walk into your bar and you ignore them, or you don't make eye contact with them, you don't make them feel welcome right away, you're just continuing that feeling that they've had all day. But if they've felt ignored and insignificant at work, and then they walk in and you make them feel like they have that cheers moment, like you say their name right away, you welcome them to their seat, they're like, all of a sudden the malaise or the feeling they had all day is transformed, right? And they're now welcome into a community that accepts them, right? And we have that, that we have that opportunity, like in the first 30 seconds of our interactions of when they walk in the door. And the greeting and making people feel welcome is the most important thing to us.